Am I the idiot for asking my husband to stay with his family while he's unemployed? My husband, 32, and I, 30, have been married for just over a year now and things couldn't be rockier. I have a good job and make a decent amount of money, whereas my husband does not make as much as me. Due to this, and the fact he was still living with his parents when we got married, we decided he would move in with me and I would continue to pay the rent and bills as long as he put money toward other things we may need as a couple. My name is the only one on the lease. However, once we got married, he started to cut down on his work hours without saying anything first. He gave the explanation that I made plenty of money for the both of us so he could just work part-time and do the work around the house while I was the main breadwinner. I was fine with this, a little upset that he had just assumed this would be okay, but I didn't say anything as this felt fair. He did do some work around the house initially, but spent the majority of his time going out to the bar, playing video games, etc. to the point where I was the one both working and doing the cooking, cleaning, and other household chores. My husband told me he was laid off 2 months ago for reasons out of his control. I assumed at this time that he would begin job hunting, and I began to pay for everything. While I do earn a decent amount of money, it's not to the point where I can pay for rent, bills, groceries, insurance, contribute to emergency savings, and finance the lifestyle my husband had started indulging in. I began paying for his nights out, subbing him money for trips to look for work, etc. all while I was under the assumption he would be searching for a new job, at least to finance his hobbies. About a week ago, I asked him how the job hunt was going and he told me that he didn't feel like it was worth it. He said to me that he was comfortable with what we had now and I wasn't happy, to say the least. I confronted him about how I was doing everything to finance and take care of our household while he sat around and played video games. I was being an ass here, I'll admit, and during this argument he let slip that he had actually quit and never looked for another job. I was furious that he had lied to me and told him I didn't want him in my home right now. Fast forward to now. My in-laws are understanding to an extent but are calling me an idiot for not wanting him to come back home until he gets a job. I have seen my husband at this time but never in our home, always out somewhere. I no longer pay for everything and his attitude toward me is making me question our entire relationship. He's calling me an idiot for doing this to him, and I'm beginning to think he's right. Am I an idiot? You're the idiot for marrying such an incompetent partner. Why would you marry someone who still lived with his parents? You should always live with someone for a while before marrying them so you can see if you can in fact live with them. I lived with my wife for 2 years before I proposed. Kick his bum ass to the curb and find a competent mate, not the idiot. And to everyone who's saying divorce isn't the answer here, I strongly disagree. He lied to you about quitting in order to manipulate you into financing him fully. Any adult knows you don't make decisions like that without at least consulting your spouse. It'd be one thing if he quit and then told you right away, but he purposefully constructed a lie to guide you to acceptance of his desire to not work. He knew he should have discussed it with you, but chose manipulation instead. That is a dangerous foundation for a marriage. What else will he lie about to get his way? Being passively controlling is still a removal of your free will. Leave. Update. As I mentioned here, my, male 32, husband and I, male 31, had an argument which resulted in me kicking him out of our home. Since then, the dust has been able to settle and we have been able to work through our problems. I would also like to clear up here that we're both men, as some people assumed I was a woman. My husband and I met up for coffee, in public, a couple of days after I made my original post. He's quite the avid Reddit user and in hindsight I probably should have assumed he would see it, but these things slipped my mind at the time. He apologized, a lot actually, about everything. After having my husband back for a while, his parents began to really tear into him about his habits and behavior, and that he'd have to work hard if he wanted to keep our marriage together. We're currently seeing a couples therapist to work through the remainder of our issues to make sure that we're 100% on the same page before we move in together again. My husband also started working again, and moved into his own apartment, after working through some personal problems, and we're almost at a point where we're back to where we were before all of this. We talk every day, go on dates, etc. aside from sharing a space, and we're comfortable with this. I would like to admit here that I definitely wasn't as good a partner as I could have been. My husband's given me permission to share with you all that he'd been struggling with his mental health a lot in the time of his unemployment, and I feel ashamed that I was too busy with my work to notice. I didn't know at all. This isn't an excuse for mine nor his actions at all, but we're communicating and he's finally reaching out for the support he feels he needs. I'm happy with where we are and I feel like he's not hiding his true feelings and intentions from me anymore, which I kick myself every day for making him ever feel that way. Right now we're not planning on changing our financial arrangement or involving a lawyer like some of you suggested, as I don't want to cause myself or him any more stress. Some of you may disagree, as his parents have been gunning for me to change financial information, get rid of everything he has access to in case he attempts this again, but I trust him. This man is the love of my life, and if I can't believe that what he tells me is true, then I don't see a point in staying with him. Once again, thank you all for your support. This is my final and only update. Not the idiot. I hope the best for you, but 100% this guy is going to wreck your life again at the first opportunity, using mental health as a chain to keep you while even his parents are telling you to look out for yourself first. Well, you'll have nobody to blame but yourself when it goes pear-shaped. Not the idiot. I fear he's telling you what you want to hear, and this entire post is you making excuses for him trying to take advantage of you financially. He blamed you for his poor mental health instead of taking responsibility for his own life, until you gave him no option. As with anyone, it is your choice to invite that behavior back into your life. I hope next time he decides he likes being taken care of works just fine for him, you learn your lesson. Should Opus leave this guy? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for telling my aunt she wasn't allowed to see my newborn? For my female 20, entire pregnancy my aunt, female 43, would make snide comments toward me and my fiance, male 22, about how we aren't fit to be parents with our outrageous lifestyle. We live in a camper on my mom and stepdad's property that is our temporary home, and it's fully furnished with a working kitchen and bathroom. We're also a little bit on the hippie side of life. She would say she was surprised that my fiance managed to get me pregnant since he isn't very much of a man. We share clothes. She would also make fun of my weight gain, saying she could barely see my belly with all the fat. I'm a pretty small woman, I think, and that eating for two isn't meant to be taken seriously. I tried to be kind to her in the beginning months of pregnancy because she had suffered through 2 miscarriages before I got pregnant. My fiancé has never been open about her being hurtful toward me and wouldn't let me write it off as her being upset over losing her babies, and I needed to set clear boundaries, so I did, and told her she couldn't see the baby without my permission. My aunt also has a history of breaking boundaries and calling CPS on family members because they don't have the same ideals that she does. Well, I just had a baby a month ago and finally felt well enough to visit my family. I have a rough relationship with my bio-dad's side of the family, and I'm truly only close with my grandparents and siblings. So this past Sunday I decided I was going to take my baby to my grandparents' house so they could meet their great-grandbaby. I had informed my grandma that I didn't want to see Aunt, and she obliged, only telling a few closer relatives that I was bringing the baby over, Aunt C and her children, in an attempt to keep it a secret from Aunt A. We had a great time and took many pictures with my family and baby. Here's where things get bad. My grandma had posted a picture on Facebook of her holding the baby. She had full permission, and my aunt had seen it despite not using Facebook for years, and within an hour had showed up at my grandma's house wanting to see the baby. I told her that she could leave, and just because she was family, she does not have the right to see my baby since she had been so disrespectful toward me and my fiance. My cousin and my fiance immediately put themselves between her and I to try and talk her down from her rage, and I could remove myself and the baby from the room. My fiance managed to get my aunt and her children out of the house so we could leave. I got a text from one of my older cousins who was on my side during the fight saying that I should have just let Aunt see the baby so the afternoon didn't get ruined. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You set up the boundaries for Aunt and stick to it. You get to choose who can see your child, even with your aunt being disrespectful to you and your fiance. Who knows what sort of comments she will say about your child too? Who knows what else she'll try to do? Call CPS for whatever reason. No idiots here, that doesn't fly. Update. It's been around 6 months since the incident, and I wish I had a happier update. My aunt has still not taken the hint that I don't want her to be around my child or my fiance at all. I respect my grandparents' choice to allow her over to their house for holidays and still attend the get-together despite knowing she'll be there. I still think I'm being a little ridiculous until she goes and tries to grab the baby out of the high chair or car seat without permission, and it drives me insane. This whole situation has driven a wedge in my family. Half of them believe I'm being selfish for not just allowing her to even hold the baby, and the other half have constantly had problems with her and completely agree with me. She has suffered another miscarriage in the last 6 months, and I'm very sorry this is happening to her, but I can't put my baby in contact with her anymore, so I've decided to keep my distance at holidays and get-togethers. We attended Christmas at my grandma's until she showed up with her kids in tow to get a hold of baby any way possible. I invited her over today at my grandma's to speak with her without a baby, and it went horribly. When she comes in, she sees my fiance and I, and then immediately notices that we don't have the baby, and she flips her lid, yelling at us like we're children because we tricked her into coming there only to not bring the baby. My fiance started the conversation only to be yelled at and called many names by my aunt. She ran away crying into the kitchen like we had done something to her. I followed her in and lectured her through her crying, telling her that her behavior at the moment was the exact reason she was not allowed to be around our baby, and if she was going to continue to belittle us on our lifestyle and parenting, she would never see the baby again. It felt silly to be lecturing someone 20 years my senior while she cried like a child. We left without saying anything else, and I held my tears in until we reached the car and sobbed the rest of the way home in the comfort of my fiance. That was hours ago at this point, and I still feel a little silly for how I'm acting, even though my aunt had shown how unstable she was to me today. But I don't want this to drive an even bigger wedge in my family. Not the idiot. Don't feel silly for protecting your child. That's what parents should do. Your aunt is driving the wedge between your family. It's unfortunate she can't have more children right now, but it's not an excuse for her behavior. She's wrong and needs to be held accountable. If she learns to manage her behavior, reconsider in the future. But she is not allowed to disrespect you and then think she's entitled to your child. It's not how it works. Not the idiot. Your aunt has an unhealthy obsession with your baby. If a stranger acted the same way, I think everyone in your family would want that stranger gone. I don't see how being blood related changes her actions at all. She needs to get her poop together, and her enablers need to shut the hell up. Should Opus cut off this crazy aunt? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for telling my parents they are irresponsible for getting pregnant for the 6th time? I am 19, female, my parents' second child. I have 3 brothers, 21, 13, and 7. And a sister, 16. We grew up poor and our parents were often dependent on financial help from relatives, friends, etc. for raising us. This is because even though my dad has a mediocre job and my mom doesn't work, they just kept on popping out one kid after another. My parents are very religious and believe that children are a gift from God. Personally, I think that's total BS. My parents' reproductive choices wouldn't bother me if it hadn't caused mine and my siblings' lives to turn to poop. While growing up, we never had new clothes or toys. We had to accept handouts from family members who were better off. We never went out or did anything fun. Now, my older brother and I have managed to get into good colleges and are looking forward to a future that would be better than our parents' lives. He and I have been home for quite a while due to the COVID-19 lockdown. Yesterday, my parents called all 5 of us into the living room. Mom said she had great news. The smile that was forming on my face died a quick death when she said we're pregnant. I lost my temper. I asked them how they could be so stupid and irresponsible. Do they not have enough financial troubles already that they have to bring in another mouth to feed? My older brother tried to calm me down, but I was livid. After a lifetime of scarcity because of my parents' stupidity, they still hadn't learned their lesson. I asked them how they planned to provide for the kid. My dad told me I would have to give up the money our great uncle had left me. He had left all 5 of us some money which only we could access when we turned 18. I said hell no. That money would help pay for my college expenses. He called me selfish for not being there for my family. I told them if they couldn't provide for the kid, they should get an abortion. My mom started crying and called me a heartless monster. Dad told me he was disgusted with me. I told them there was no way I was going to pay for their stupidity. Since then the atmosphere in our house has been very tense. So tell me, am I the idiot? Edit. I forgot to add that I told them that the only thing I'd help pay for is an abortion. FYI, I'm not American and abortion is completely legal in my country. Edit 2. I want to thank all of you for your kind and helpful comments. Some of you asked if my money is safe. Yes, it is. My parents can't get it without my written consent, which they are not going to get. It was suggested that I talk to my younger sister. I'm planning to do that, and I'm going to do my best to ensure that she doesn't fall for any guilt tripping by my parents. To those of you who suggested that my comments were cruel, I see where you're coming from. But my biggest worry is the way my parents' reckless lifestyle is going to affect my younger siblings. And they're not doing this kid any favors by bringing it into a life of poverty. Not the idiot. In all honesty, Opus, I'd let it be tense in the house. Do not give them even a penny and do not help them with the baby no matter how much they try to guilt or shame you. They made a choice, so it's their problem to deal with. And ignore all the people that say family or they're your parents, so you have to respect them. Respect is earned, not given. They are selfish people who don't put their children's quality of life first. After 5 kids, they have no excuses and made a choice under the assumption that you older kids would sacrifice for their decisions. They don't sound worth a warm relationship with. Update. Quite a lot has happened since I originally posted about this. I decided to get some family members involved so they could talk some sense into my parents. I called my mom's maternal cousin. She's one of my favorite people. When I told her that mom and dad were having another kid, she reacted with what? Again, I told her everything and how they expected me to hand over my inheritance. She said she was going to speak to my parents and told me not to sign over anything. I promised her I wouldn't. Of course I won't. I also called 2 of my first cousins, one of whom is an accountant, so she could explain to my parents how much of a financial liability this baby is going to be and try to convince them to either abort or give it up for adoption. I moved out of my parents' home a few days ago. I was only going to stay here till the lockdown was relaxed, but I just can't bear to listen to my mom's nagging about how this baby is a blessing and I want to kill it. I've moved into a friend's basement for a minimal rent. My mom's cousin paid them a visit about a week ago and tried to tell them they weren't doing this child any favors by bringing it into a life of poverty. My mom was very rude to my aunt and told her that a woman who chose to remain barren will never understand a mother's love. My aunt never wanted kids nor had any. My dad told her to get out. Aunt told me there was nothing she could do, but she did try. I didn't blame her. The cousin tried to explain the economic impact this kid would have and my mom cried about how everyone was trying to take away her baby TF. The intervention didn't do poop. So now I've decided to cut contact with my parents. I just can't watch my family slide further and further into a hellhole. I'll be maintaining contact with my sister, 16, just to make sure my parents can't brainwash her. Otherwise, I'm done with these people. Edit. I want to thank all of you for your support. I think I should add that my brother will maintain contact with my parents. I'm actually glad that he will, because if they prevent my sister from talking to me, my brother can act as a link between me and her. Not the idiot. I'm sorry your parents are religious idiots. My father made my poor mother have 5 kids because his religion liked to keep their members poor with loads of children they couldn't afford. My poor mother is a victim in all this, just like us kids. Religion really can and does cloud people's judgments. They have obviously accepted handouts to get by and now expect those handouts to keep coming for the next 18 years. You are correct in your assessment that your parents are irresponsible. In 2020 there are a multitude of ways to avoid pregnancy and all of them are cheaper than having another mouth to feed. I am glad you have a way out and can overcome their selfish craziness. Am I the idiot for going to a baby shower even though I missed a funeral? Hi, male 27, went to a baby shower last Sunday for a friend of mine, female 28, that is expecting a baby boy. I've known her more than half my life and her husband, male 28, is the sweetest man ever. She gets very upset when people don't attend her events and she can even be angry when they don't work out as they planned. Her wedding planning was a lot of drama and I'm glad I didn't play a role in that. She and her husband are amazing people and this is their first child so they really wanted me to come. Here's where it gets difficult. Her baby shower was on the same day as my cousin's, male 28, funeral. Now I'm not close or distant to him but in recent years we haven't seen each other as much. He didn't even spend Christmas with us the past 2 years. And yes, we all celebrate Christmas so this isn't about what beliefs anyone has or holidays they celebrate. Also I figured my family could understand the other dark reason why I wouldn't attend. His cause of death was by drowning and I am extremely afraid of water. He and his friend went swimming in a lake and were pulled by currents. His friend survived but he did not. I have had a crippling fear of large bodies of water for practically 2 decades and now that one of these took my cousin's life, I didn't have the heart to think about that horror. I hate the beach and don't live by the ocean. I didn't think they'd bring up his horrific death story at the funeral but I didn't want to risk it especially since it would have given me more anxiety than I could withstand. I do feel horrible grief for my cousin for literally dying the way I've always feared dying and I can't even hear or read about the incident without flipping out. So I attended the baby shower and it wasn't too different from normal baby showers. My friend was happy I was there and I know she gets very sensitive when people don't attend her events. I was happy for her and her husband too. I'm glad to keep them in my life. However, the days following her baby shower and my cousin's funeral, people in my family have become distant. I saw our phone group chat and noticed some people were talking about me not being in attendance. I promised to attend the burial and begged them not to discuss triggering details of his death to me. But my own sister, female 23, kicked me out of the group chat. My parents said I'll eventually be brought back but they're very disappointed in me for not attending the funeral. They said I was being too paranoid about people talking about the death details when they just wanted to celebrate his life, and that my friend needs to learn she can't have everything. I told them it's not my fault or my friend's fault and that I don't love my late cousin any less than his other family members, but right now everyone's upset with me and it will make attending the burial even harder. Did I make the wrong decision? Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. I'm confused. You were so triggered and anxious about your cousin's death and the way he died. You went to your friend's baby shower on the same day instead of attending the funeral, and told the family not to discuss his death because it was also upsetting for you. And you're asking if you're an idiot. You're the idiot. You handled this very badly, failed to support your family in their grief, failed to honor your cousin, and I can completely understand why they are upset with you. Have you ever even been to a funeral? What on earth makes you think they are going to spend tons of time talking about their death? That just doesn't happen. You are being paranoid, and if your phobia about water is so severe that you can't even be in a room where somebody talks about water, you need to get therapy. Update. People have asked or assumed an update. It's fair I share how things went. I ended up attending my late cousin's burial. Most people were just too caught up in grief and in memory of my cousin to acknowledge me. I was alright with this, but I knew some of them had said stuff about me after the burial. My parents have tried to help me through, although my mother is still very upset with my decision, seeing my late cousin was on her side of the family. Some of my family, especially my eldest sister, 29, female, have found respect for me, but I've had to do more responsibility-wise. My younger sister, female 23, basically refused to speak to me since I skipped my cousin's funeral. She and I have gone separate ways and it hurts to accept her happier when I'm not around with her. Biggest change within her is that she used to be mad at me and badmouthed me for missing his funeral for the baby shower, but now she's just done. She's moved on for a life now without me, and this is the hardest part of the update to write about. I can only focus on improving myself. It sounds wrong to just cut off family, especially after a member died this year, but I wish her the best and she's taught me a lot about myself. She doesn't want me dead. She wants herself to be happy. Following my friend's baby shower, she has since given birth to her son in late October. She and her husband are nice people. Given your comments, she really has been a close friend of mine for years, but even now, I agree she was too demanding. I believe these were pregnancy symptoms, but she really is high maintenance. Since she's a mother, she's taken the "it takes a village to raise a child" message to heart and wants more gifts. A lot of people decided they wanted a break from her. Some told her, some just ghosted. But I decided it was best to let go, at least for the time being. We haven't spoken in a few weeks. She sent me a Christmas card with her still pregnant standing next to her husband, but no talking to each other for the year. My cousin's parents, my aunt and uncle, are unsurprisingly distraught. I've helped them around their house and they're doing their best to forgive me, but I know they won't forget. They'll always know I skipped their son's funeral. My late cousin's girlfriend, female 28, has done more for them, however, and they adore her like family. She's coming this Christmas, although she too missed Christmas the past 2 years, and she definitely knows my cousin did this due to the pandemic, which I should have been more aware about. My cousin drowning to death is scary, but he is not a reckless person. I don't know his girlfriend very well, but I will comfort her. She is constantly said to be a wonderful woman, and she's been so sweet to our family. My family isn't the same since the passing, and they're trying their best with one another. I still feel very alone, but I'm holding on and I'm taking therapy next year. Everyone sucks here. First, I'm glad you are no longer friends with that toxic woman. That's a huge positive step for you. Second, I completely get your sister's anger and now disinterest in you. To be honest, what you did was unforgivable. Hopefully in time she softens. But understand it might take years, not weeks. Do mention to your family that you are no longer friends with that toxic woman and that it was your fault for not walking away from her much sooner. You should be thankful your aunt and uncle let you near them, and that you are still part of this year's family Christmas, not the idiot. I think that given your circumstances you made the best decisions you could. I hope this has taught you something, and do not rule out having a relationship with your sister again. It would not be bad for you to let me know that you understand that she is upset, that you were wrong, and you will give her her space, but if she needs help or wants to talk to you, you will be there for her. Should he have gone to his cousin's funeral? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for not agreeing to house my pregnant teenage sister and her delinquent boyfriend after our parents disowned her? My family and I grew up very poor. From when I was old enough to legally work, I, female 19, have had to take on multiple jobs while balancing school to help with my family and my younger sister. Growing up, I never had a lot, and whatever money I earned I would spend on my sister, female 16, and family. When I was 18 and had just been accepted into college, my dad's business that he'd worked on for the past couple of years finally took off. This also meant that my sister could now have a normal high school experience without worrying about money. While I was in college, I wasn't in contact with my sister that much since I was so busy with schoolwork. However, from our calls and her social media, I could tell she had changed completely and was involved with some bad people. She would post videos on her Snapchat of her getting drunk, smoking weed, juuling, driving while most likely drunk, high, etc. I tried reaching out to her, but she would mostly deny the claims and told me to mind my own business. At some point, she justified her actions using the argument, "This is what the cool kids do now. Not everyone was a nerd like you in high school." One of my high school friends who also has a brother in the same grade reached out to me and said that she heard that my sister was seeing a sketchy guy from another school. Apparently he sells drugs and was expelled from my sister's high school. I asked my sister about this and she denied it. Last week I got a phone call from my mom who was sobbing. She tells me that my sister is pregnant. I was so shocked that I could not speak. Then I was angry. When I was her age and even younger, I gave her everything, and so did my parents, so she could have all the opportunities her peers had. Since my dad's business became lucrative, they've given her every opportunity to succeed. Any extracurricular, sport she wants, academic tutoring, school activities, etc. I never got any of those things. It angered me so much that she took all of this for granted and fricked up her life. The father, her delinquent boyfriend who got expelled and sells drugs. She blows up my phone but I don't respond. She then sends me a series of long text messages asking if she can crash at my place. She also asked me if I could make an appointment to see a doctor. Lastly, she asked if it would be okay if her boyfriend comes and stays over sometimes. I shut her down. I told her that you dug this hole for yourself. If you allow yourself to become pregnant, then you should be able to deal with the consequences. Also, I'm currently sharing a small apartment with 2 roommates. She begged some more and I denied her. In the past few days, she's been texting me and calling me non-stop saying that she has nowhere to go and has been living in her boyfriend's car. I haven't responded to a single message of hers, but I feel my resolve wavering a bit. I fully don't support her, but maybe I'm being an idiot. Edit. To clarify, I would still never house her in my apartment. That would be extremely disrespectful towards my roommates and would get me kicked out due to the lease agreement. I meant I was considering giving in and sending her some money. Edit 2. My parents have disowned her, not kicked her out. They are refusing to acknowledge that she is their daughter, but she is still welcome to live in their house. She chose not to since my parents are absolutely fuming and probably will yell at her and criticize her, which she honestly needs. Not the idiot. It hurts to watch families suffer consequences of their actions, but you aren't refraining from helping to be vindictive or to get even. You aren't helping her because of the way she's treated you and your family. It's hard to do, but you are not an idiot. Everyone sucks here except you. Your parents should have done something a long time ago to rein her in, rather than wondering why she's wound up pregnant now. The school should have intervened a long time ago if she was seeing that guy, because I'm sure they were at least somewhat aware of the students were. The boyfriend sucks for obvious reasons, and the sister sucks too for obvious reasons. Personally, I'd offer her money for an abortion, and pay it directly to the clinic, and then pay the clinic to check her for STIs and install some kind of long-acting contraception like an implant. a ring or an IUD. Update. It's been a little bit more than 2 weeks since my first post, and I guess it's safe to say now that the situation has been resolved in probably the best way possible. In my last post, I stated that my sister was still living in the car of her delinquent boyfriend who sells drugs and refusing to come home because my parents had disowned her. At this point, I would like to clarify that my family and I are Chinese, and it is common in Chinese culture to disown your kids when they do something that largely disappoints or embarrasses you. However, this is not a permanent disownment like many of you have brought up. As long as my sister apologizes sincerely and they can see that she is actively trying to fix her mistake and become better, they will take her back as their daughter. Another clarification would be for those people who assume that my dad kept us poor since he was stubborn and wanted to work on his business and not get a real job. His business was a passion project on the side. My dad was working 50 hours a week at 2 jobs. Alrighty, onto what ultimately happened with my sister. Despite the chain of advice I sent her, she ignored me still. I regularly checked in with her over the next week to see how she was, and she gave me one-word replies until they ultimately stopped. I was growing concerned after she didn't pick up her cell. But then I received a call from my parents. According to my mom, my sister had returned home crying and begging for forgiveness. She had a serious talk with my parents where she apologized for her behavior and promised to make amends. My mom was very tearful as well. They scheduled a doctor's appointment for her immediately, and I believe she went in the next day. I had no idea what made her finally break and return home, so I texted her. First, I told her I was proud of her for taking action and being mature, and asked if anything happened between her and her boyfriend. At first she was pretty stubborn and kept insisting that she was just over living in a car. But after a while she finally admitted that her boyfriend had requested that she start selling for him if she wanted to keep living in his car and eating his food that he was sneaking her. LMAO, what a freaking idiot. Glad my sister finally returned to her senses. She told me she broke it off with him, and I sincerely hope that's the truth. This past Monday, she got the pills to successfully terminate her pregnancy. According to my mom, she was begging that they do it ASAP, which was really a breath of relief for all of us because we were worried she might want to keep it. The future seems pretty bright right now for her. My parents decided to pull her out of the public school and send her to a progressive private school that some of my close friends also went to. It's a fantastic school, and I think it'd be great for her. She's officially starting next Monday. I'm going to visit her and my family this weekend and see how she's doing. Edit. Forgot to add that the new school also has a wonderful counseling department. I urged my parents to speak to the head psychologist there, and they did, and she will be having mandatory weekly meetings with her and another therapist at the school. Not the idiot. While I'm glad she's home and the worst has been avoided, I really wonder if the underlying issues will be addressed. The whole family dynamic does not sound healthy, traditional or not. And in addition, your sister has gone through a lot, from being disowned, all that poop with her boyfriend, and now the abortion. Please check up on her regularly to make sure she's coping alright, and I would very strongly suggest getting her a therapist or at least a school counselor to talk to. Ideally family therapy too, but I don't know if your parents would be open for that at all. At the end of the day, she is only 16 and all of this went past typical teenage rebellion. If the underlying causes are not addressed, it won't matter that she changed schools, the problems will still be there. Also, an abortion can be very traumatizing and just confusing with all the emotions involved, even when the woman wants it and has planned it well. Your sister didn't have much of a choice, no good choices anyway, and she is still very young. She really needs an adult who she can trust to talk to about all of her feelings and issues without judgment. How would you have handled things if your little sister got pregnant? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Am I the idiot for cutting off my parents after they lied to me about my allergies all my life? Hey everyone, I am 19 years old and my parents are in their 52nds. For as long as I can remember, I have been allergic to several things: dairy, wheat, flour, gluten, and legumes. Since I was a young child, my parents have completely kept all of them out of our house. While other kids ate breakfast cereals, I ate fish and assorted pickled vegetables for breakfast. While other kids had Lunchables, I had grilled chicken or fish with, again, assorted vegetables, usually sweet potatoes. While other kids ate birthday cake at the birthday party, I had an apple. I never questioned this until a couple of months ago. I was at my aunt's house for my birthday party, and she made brownies for everyone. For me, she took great steps to make them with almond flour and avoided all of my allergies. I started eating them and thought little of it until my aunt suddenly looked at me and, in a panicked way, asked which plate I took the brownies from. I pointed from the one where I got my brownies, and she immediately stood up and told me we had to get my EpiPen. She raced to ask my mother for it, and I sat there scared out of my mind because I had never mistakenly eaten flour before. I noticed my mother had calmed her down, and then she said that we don't have to worry because she had switched the plates of brownies, and after all I had eaten the ones made with almond flour. I found this incredibly odd because, really, why would she swap the plates? That doesn't even make sense. But for the time being I let the issue rest. It didn't sit well with me for about a week and I finally went to get an allergy test. The doctor started with a skin prick test, and lo and behold, I didn't react to any of the above substances. Then he ordered a blood test, and when the results came in, They said that I had absolutely no intolerance to any of the foods I'm supposed to be allergic to. I was furious and called my mother. She eventually admitted that she lied to me because she wanted me to be on a Paleolithic diet and wanted me to be able to avoid all temptations. She raised me with a lie about her own health, but she keeps insisting that I try to see it from her perspective. She spams my phone with messages about how healthy I am, that I never had acne, that I have been in great shape my whole life, that I have strong teeth and bones, and even that I got onto a D1 college tennis team. She has started calling me ungrateful for her intervention and insisting that I really should be glad I never got carb addicted. I don't know what to think. I carried around an EpiPen for all those years, one that I suspect may be fake seeing as my mother never got me to replace it, and I don't even know anymore. Am I the idiot and an ungrateful son for losing it over this? Not the idiot. You spent your entire life thinking that you could easily die because your mom wanted you on a special diet. Allergies are incredibly serious, and while you can grow out of them, to be lied to is unnecessary. What your mom did was manipulative and poor parenting. She easily could have had you on a diet like that without lying and making you fear for your life. Update. Perhaps against my better judgment, I decided that I would reopen a line of communication with my mother. I know this was not recommended by anyone in the post at all, but I just decided that I really wanted to have a relationship with her. I wanted her to see why what she did was so incredibly wrong and crossed so many lines, on top of wanting to be her son again. I texted her a few days after I made my original post and told her that I was willing to talk if she did not say anything until I had my say. Didn't gaslight me into thinking what she was doing was right, and truly considered my perspective. She agreed instantly. We set up a video chat at that point, where I explained many of the wonderful points people in this community brought up in my original post. What if I had really accidentally taken in one of the foods I was supposed to be allergic to? Absurdly irresponsible of her. Did she ever stop to consider that I, sitting there at another kid's birthday party chowing down on a freaking apple while the other kids ate cake, might just feel out of place? Inconsiderate. How could she have the nerve to suggest that my hard work and having a goddamn tennis racket practically glued to my hand since I was 4 was the reason why I'm such a successful athlete? But rather it was because I didn't eat gluten. Dismissive of my accomplishments. How could she have lied not only to me, but to our family as well? Dishonest. Why didn't she just talk to me instead of raising me on a lie? Underhanded. By the end of my rehearsed talk, my mother was straight up ugly crying. This was not exactly what I expected, but she apologized and said that she had been terrible. It was a huge leap from her previous response to my indignation. She told me everything I said was right, and asked if I would listen to her reason why she did so. Before I was born, my mother had a much older brother. I knew about him, but never heard specifics on what happened to him. Apparently, he basically ate himself to death. He was so obese and food addicted that he was beyond help. He passed away when my mother was pregnant with me. They were close. It had a huge effect on her. She rationalized that lying would be better for me. When I brought up the fact that she didn't lie once, but for my entire life, she acknowledged that she truly had no excuse. This did not give me complete closure, but at least I got it. I am talking to my mother and father again. My father also apologized, although he has tried to maintain that he was more of an accomplice who tried to talk her out of it. That's another fight for another day. You're the idiot. Your parents were only looking out for you, and they spent years of hard work restricting your diet as well as their own. Now you found out the truth and are going to throw all that hard work away. Disappointing. Not the idiot. It's good you decided to try and get closure. After all, the worst that could have happened was just returning to no contact and having that anger to work out all over again. This way you've gotten contact back and worked toward recovery together. What would you do if your parents did something like this? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for snapping at my mom and running away from home? Leaving my parents worrying with no knowledge of where I am and if I'm safe for 3 days. I know it sounds bad, but bear with me. My parents, 45, female, male 44, and I, female 17, have a complicated, strained sort of relationship where they only pay me attention when I'm in a life-threatening situation, or when I act out. I never really thought they cared about me, and ran away from home following a heated argument with my mom where she thought I was out when I wasn't. I was actually hanging out in the yard, and reacted badly. I was already stressed, and so when she exploded and started to yell at me without trying to let me have a word and to explain the misunderstanding, I behaved like a brat, I'll admit now, and snapped that it's not like she cared what I was up to, that I wish I'd get out of this miserable shithole and that I don't have to wait long for that to happen. She lost it and blew up on me, telling me that I was a disgrace, that she regrets the day I was born, that she wouldn't hold me back if I tried to leave, and that she'd be glad to see the back of me. Basically, confirming what I thought she felt towards me. I told her that if that's her wish, then I want nothing to do with her, too. I think she tried to stop me from leaving because she tried to grab my arm, but I was out of her reach and ran off to my neighbor's house before she could catch me, as it was dark. She didn't see where I went off to. Even though I felt guilty about what I said and because I knew the level of criticism they'd face at our family's hand for not reining me in, I admit I felt it was justified, and that I was preempting them. I didn't try to contact them, because I wanted to see how all this would play out, mainly if I would be welcomed back if I ever returned and not turned to the street. I got cold feet a couple of times while trying to call them, and ultimately decided to leave it until a couple of days have passed so that they can cool off, which I guess I shouldn't have done. But I didn't count on my parents actually worrying about where I was, if I was safe. Turns out, they do care about me. Dad came to take me home the moment he realized where I was, and we had a row about the stunt I pulled and how childish it was. I felt like an off for going no contact after realizing just how deep his and her worry ran. Someone told me that it was weird that I felt entitled to my parents' love and attention, and that everything I did was to cause unnecessary drama, which got me thinking that my behavior is not normal. I'm not proud of what I did. I really feel bad. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision that I took under stress because I genuinely thought that my mother wanted me gone. But I'm feeling conflicted because although my friends are on my side, my extended family think I behaved like a cowardly idiot who broke her parents' hearts on a whim. This image I built of my cold, neglectful, and emotionally distant parents has been destroyed now, and I'm left feeling like the ungrateful brat they've always taught me to be. So, Reddit, am I the idiot? Everyone sucks here. Firstly, your parents shouldn't have neglected you like they did, but it doesn't mean they don't care about you. On the other hand, what you did was just stupid. You shouldn't have just ran away when you know you're literally incapable of being financially independent. Like sitting in your room or something. Not the idiot. Running away is not a good idea, and I don't encourage you doing that, but I understand why you did it. You were feeling unloved and like you didn't matter. Go no contact as soon as you can, and try to get therapy. I'm so sorry you're going through this, and if you ever need to chat, my inbox is always open. Update. I spoke to my parents about starting therapy. As predicted, they weren't too impressed with the idea, but the moment I said that getting professional help would ensure nothing like that would happen again, they started considering it. I think that the idea that I might run away from them again pretty much sealed the deal. We had our first session yesterday. I'm still shaken over it. Surprisingly, Mum, who's been more snappish about the whole therapy business, it's unseemly, Opus, was the first to open up. It took some probing, of course, but I don't think I've ever heard her talk so much. She's sorry about what she said and did. Apparently, from what the therapist concluded, she has some unresolved trauma they'd need to work on concerning me getting lost at 9 years old. Forgot about that. She admitted she constantly feared it'd happen again, and when she didn't find me in her room, she feared the worst. I have the habit of texting her my exact whereabouts, something I promised to do when I was 14 to get her off my back. But I never realized she'd read all the messages and called my friends' parents to be sure I'm safe. I apologized for snapping at her and disappearing for 3 days, but I can see that they still don't trust me not to bolt. They said that they still have nightmares over it happening, which explains why they come to check on me in the middle of the night, and I feel so bad. But we're working on it. I'll spare you the details, because trust me, there's a lot. But what stayed with me is Dad recounting a conversation we had about my friends and how I told him that they, at least, understood and liked me. His answer at the time was that he found neither to be important, and he apologized for it now, for how little he had understood back then. Another thing was Mum saying that she didn't know how to be gentle and how she struggles to act on her maternal instincts without coming off as overbearing. We unloaded a whole set of insecurities about how she wasn't permitted to be as doting and loving as she would have wanted because of my grandparents' involvement, how Dad felt my acting out was me trying to free myself of them, and a lot of stuff I couldn't possibly type with a 3,000 character limit. Therapist's train of thought is that with the way they were raised and how the family acts, it's not surprising that their parenting tactics focus more on dominating me rather than being emotionally available, like I need. We finished the session with them telling me how much they love me and how proud they are of me, which tears me up even now. So everything is good. We're working on our relationship. It's a slow process and takes a lot of patience, but it's worth it and we're already seeing results. So thank you, all of you. A lot, really, not the idiot. I spent the last 20 years of my life thinking my mom secretly hated me and I was a burden to her. I had a heart-to-heart with her 4 days ago, this past Saturday, and started to unload and fill in the pieces of what I didn't know from before my parents divorced. It turns out that she loves me so much and was doing what she could to protect me and my siblings from my father's physical abuse. To spare some more gritty details, we cried it out, and I'm genuinely looking forward to hearing from my trauma with her and forming a stronger relationship than I could have ever hoped for. Trauma fucks you up as a person, but not forever. I wish you the best of luck with working through everything with your parents. I'm glad you were able to get into therapy. No idiots here. This made me really happy. I'm so glad things are going better and therapy is helping. It sounds like they really love you and want to be good parents. But they're people with their own flaws and don't always do the right thing. But you're doing so well. Even if you do act up sometimes, as most teenagers do, it sounds like you're pretty mature and willing to own up to your mistakes and work to make things better. It sounds like you're on a great path. Do you blame her or her parents? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for contacting my estranged sister? I, female 17, have an older sister, female 22. My parents had her when they were teenagers and they have never been good to her. They are good to me. They both screamed at her for everything and they both pressured her a lot. She was a model, so Mom was obsessed with her looks and what she ate. Dad constantly pressured her with school. I was not good either. I was always ruining her stuff, even expensive ones. I would scream at her. I made fun of everything she liked. My parents encouraged it. My sister was always good to me. She would make sure I eat healthy and help with homework, even when she was sick or tired. She'd stay with me when mom and dad had fights as I would get scared. She took the blame for everything I always did, but it was hard. And the relationship with my parents got really bad after they blamed her for something awful, so she left a while later when she became an adult. Things weren't okay between us either, but she told me to contact her if necessary. She is now very successful, travels a lot, has money, a nice boyfriend, friends and fans. She had always wanted a sister, and I know she had asked for one for Christmas and for her birthday before I was born. Whenever we saw sisters in movies or stuff, she would say it was us. I constantly told her that she wasn't my sister. Well, our parents had a baby recently, a girl. They had couples therapy the past years and are okay now. I spent months thinking, but I decided to contact her, apologize and tell her everything. She was furious. Literally for the first time ever she screamed at me and said lots of real mean stuff, then said I should not have told her anything. I'm confused. We sucked. I know that, but was I really bad in contacting her for this? I feel like it was important. You're the idiot. Seriously, this is the reason you decided to call her years after she left the house. To tell her that your idiot parents decided to not only get therapy after they estranged their eldest daughter, and I'm assuming they never bothered to contact her after they seemingly got better, but they also decided to have another baby who is 95% meant to be a replacement for your sister. The last time she saw you, she asked you to contact her if you needed anything. Because despite how shitty you and your parents treated her, you are still her little sister, and she doesn't want you to end up on the streets. Aside from that, she would have been way more happy if you just left her alone and didn't bother to tell her such things. Update. I did contact my sister again, as I was planning on visiting her city with my best friend's family, and if she wanted to talk. She replied days later and I saw her. I had to swear not to tell our parents and I would not go to her place. Everyone was right. I was an idiot, but also I was stupid. I didn't think things right. My sister told me that when I called her she was already in a bad mood as she was really sick and needed to be okay for the next day, so me calling her kind of made everything worse and stressed her more. She apologized for screaming. Like you all told me. It made her feel like everything got better because she left, which was not my intention, but I see it now. Our baby sister also has a close birthday to her, so it obviously feels like a replacement, even if my intention was not that when telling her. She asked if I understood how bad what mom and dad told her the last time they saw her was, and I had never really sat and thought about that until that day. I now don't really know what to do when I think about them. She is not in therapy and more due to a real bad experience, but she has two things, PTSD and BPD, I think, but also has now a bit of an okay relationship with food and other stuff. She says everything is under control. She told me how she already had a sister before the baby, me. How she felt super jealous when she saw her friends with their sisters, how she has a hard time when her favorite singer posts about her sister, and about how she feels embarrassed that she never has family go watch her or support her at work while everyone else does. Her boyfriend and friends are amazing, but she feels really alone. She asked about my life but asked me not to mention our parents. She asked to see our baby sister, so I showed her a few videos. It was really hard and I felt super guilty. We talked for a few hours. Everyone around here was right and I should have known better. She says she was never really mad at me. She gave me her assistant's number and told me to only call in real emergencies. If I'm sick, I have no place to live, I need food or stuff for school, or if our sister needs something. But to please never contact her directly ever again and to not tell our parents. She said when I turn 18, if they know anything, I will get in trouble. I was expecting maybe she would call me for Christmas, but she didn't, which is fine, I don't deserve it. On her Instagram it seems like she had a good time. There's more but character limits, so yeah, that's the update. I guess everything is okay. No idiots here. Wow. After reading the original post, it seems very clear that both of you are victims of your abusive parents. Both of you still have huge amounts of trauma to work through. You didn't contact her with anything but good intentions. She's not ready. I hope after more time goes by, you can have a healthier relationship. In the meantime, focus on your own healing, not the idiot. I'm glad you reconnected. I am sad she never wants to hear from you again, as the bond between sisters is so important. I understand how easy it is to make mistakes, be selfish and not recognize how what your parents said hurt her to the core. I hope you are never without food, shelter or stuff for school. I don't think it was right for her to threaten you with an NDA if your parents find out. Possibly a lawsuit, but I understand her need for privacy.